I never believed in ghost stories until the night the drive-thru camera showed me a car that didn't exist. My name's Stephanie, and this happened during my very first closing shift at KFC. I just started the job a week earlier, mostly to make some extra cash before heading off to college. It was one of those 24-hour branches on the edge of town, the kind that stayed open for truckers, night owls, and the occasional drunk guy craving a bucket of wings at 3 a.m. That night started just like any other. I clocked in at 10 p.m., tied my apron, and tried to look busy while my manager, Mike, counted the registers. The smell of fried chicken clung to everything, my uniform, my hair, even my phone case. The restaurant was quiet, humming with the steady buzz of the freezers and the soft sizzle from the fryer that never quite shut up. By 2 a.m., the streets outside were dead. Only the faint glow of the drive-thru menu board cut through the darkness. Mike was in the back doing inventory, and I was stationed up front, watching the drive-thru camera like I'd done a dozen times before. That's when I saw it. A car pulling up to the speaker. It looked old. Not classic old, but wrong old. The kind of vehicle that belonged in a black and white movie. All chrome edges and foggy headlights. The intercom crackled, static hissed, then a voice came through. 2 family buckets, large fries, 4 sodas. I froze. The words were muffled, warped by static, like someone talking through a broken radio. I waited for the car to pull forward. It didn't. I leaned toward the monitor, but the lane outside was completely empty. The screen showed a car. The window showed nothing. I called out to Mike, but he waved me off from the back. Probably just a glitch, Steph. Happens all the time. But I knew what I saw. And when I checked the order history later, my stomach dropped. There was an order, marked completed. No payment, no name. Just a timestamp, 2:47 a.m. Weirdest of all, the order listed menu items I'd never heard of. Popcorn chicken feast, honey barbecue twisters, country corn bites. When I asked Mike about them, he blinked like I'd asked him in another language. Those were discontinued, 20 years ago? He said, frowning. You sure you didn't click the wrong thing? But the system didn't make mistakes like that. The next night, I watched the camera again, and right on cue, 2:47 a.m., the same vintage sedan appeared, same order, same voice, same static. That's when I decided to stay late the next night, long after Mike left, to see for myself what was really happening in that drive-thru lane. The third night felt heavier, like the air itself didn't want me there. I clocked in as usual, pretending to laugh at Mike's dumb jokes and the buzzing fryer, but inside I was bracing myself. I had brought my phone charger, a thermos of coffee, and the nerve to stay past closing. By 2:30 a.m., the place was nearly silent. The last customer, a tired delivery driver, had just left, and Mike was locking up the front doors. He tossed me the keys before heading out. Don't stay too long, Steph. Cameras reset after 3. Let the system do its thing. Yeah, I lied. Just cleaning up. Once his car disappeared from the lot, I turned off the dining lights, leaving only the faint glow from the drive-thru monitors. My reflection stared back at me in the window, pale, nervous, and way too curious for my own good. 2:47 a.m. Right on schedule. The monitor flickered, then cleared. The same sedan rolled into frame, headlights dim and glowing like fog lamps from another time. The voice crackled through the speaker again, slurred, distant. 2 family buckets, large fries, 4 sodas. I swallowed hard and pressed the button. Hello? Can you repeat that? The static paused. Then something new. Laughter. A low, distorted chuckle that crawled through the intercom. The sedan didn't move. I slipped outside through the side door, holding my phone up to record. The lot was empty. No engine sounds, no lights. But on the screen inside, the car was still there, idling, waiting. The weirdest part? The air smelled faintly of gasoline and fried chicken, even though no cars had come through in nearly an hour. The sound of an old radio hummed faintly, like music leaking from somewhere underground. My heart was hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. I crept closer to the drive-thru lane, aiming my camera at the speaker box. It was old and rusted, the paint peeling. A faint buzz filled the air. Then,
The intercom came alive again, louder this time. "Is our order ready yet?" I stumbled back, nearly dropping my phone. The voice wasn't distant now. It was clear. A woman's voice. Warm. Polite. Almost cheerful. I, I, I don't... Who is this? I managed to say. There was a long silence. Then the voice replied, "We've been waiting so long." A faint tap, tap, tap echoed from the speaker, like fingers drumming impatiently on metal. I bolted back inside and locked the door, gasping. When I looked at the monitor, the sedan was gone, but something had changed. The order history updated itself again. Same items, same time, but this time, under pickup name, a new detail appeared. The Harpers. And beneath it, a date, April 17th, 2004. My hands trembled as I searched that date on my phone. The result made my blood run cold. April 17th, 2004. Family of 4 killed in drive-thru collision at KFC grand opening. Their last recorded transaction: 2 family buckets, large fries, 4 sodas.
The screen glowed cold in the dark, showing a black and white photo of the Harpers, a smiling couple with 2 little kids, standing beside a grand opening banner. The caption said they died instantly when their vintage sedan skidded on wet pavement and slammed into the drive-thru wall. The year was 2004, the same spot my camera was pointed at right now. Every instinct screamed at me to clock out and run, but curiosity is a nasty kind of gravity. It pulls you closer even when you're terrified. I had to know why the system kept logging their order. So I did the stupidest thing imaginable. I reopened the register and typed in the exact same order: 2 family buckets, large fries, 4 sodas. The items weren't even supposed to exist anymore, but somehow the screen accepted them. Total, $26.47. My hands shook as I hit complete order. Instantly, the kitchen lights flickered. The fryer hissed louder, like something boiling over. Then faintly, I heard it. The sound of a car idling outside. Slow. Steady. I turned toward the window. The sedan was there. This time, not just on the monitor, outside. Its headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating streaks of rain on the glass. The driver's silhouette turned toward me, and I could just make out the outline of a man's face, pale and unmoving. Beside him, a woman's head turned too. 2 smaller shapes sat in the back seat. The intercom crackled again. "Thank you," the woman's voice said softly. "We never got our food." The register drawer shot open, coins clattering across the counter. The fryer roared. I backed away as the air turned thick and hot, smelling of burnt grease and exhaust. Then, all at once, it stopped. Silence. The headlights blinked out. When I looked again, the parking lot was empty, just the hum of the menu board and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't stay to clean up. I grabbed my bag and ran out the side door, my shoes slipping on the wet pavement. The next morning, I told Mike everything. He laughed at first, until he checked the system. The transaction was still there. Time-stamped 2:47 a.m. Marked fulfilled. No payment, no employee ID. Just one final note under status. Order delivered. Mike didn't say a word after that. He deleted the file and changed the drive-thru camera's angle so it no longer pointed toward the old crash site. I quit a few days later. Still, every night at 2:47, my phone buzzes with a strange notification from an unknown number. Always the same message. "Thank you for your service. The Harpers appreciate it." And the worst part? When I look at my KFC app history, it still shows one open order, marked Preparing.
My name's Daniel, and this happened a year ago when I worked the night shift at a KFC tucked inside a dying strip mall. You know the kind. Flickering lights, parking lot potholes big enough to swallow tires, and a constant smell of fried grease in the air. It wasn't glamorous, but the job paid my bills, and the quiet nights gave me time to think. At first, everything felt ordinary. I'd clock in, throw on the paper hat, and joke with my coworker Tasha about how this KFC felt like a ghost town after 10 p.m. The place always had this faint, sour smell beneath the grease, like wet metal and disinfectant. Chris, our manager, once said the building used to be part of a psychiatric hospital's kitchen before they tore it down. I laughed it off. It sounded like something people said just to freak out new hires. But that was before she showed up. It was a slow Tuesday night when she first walked in. Tall, bony, her skin so pale it looked almost gray under the fluorescent lights. She didn't speak a word, not even hello. She just pointed at ingredients. Lettuce, tomato, chicken, mayo. I made the sandwich, wrapped it neatly, and placed it on the counter. She nodded once, paid an exact change, and left without a sound. The next night, she came again. Same order, same silence, same cold stare that made the back of my neck prickle. I asked Tasha if she thought the lady was weird. What lady? The one who's been coming in around 8, always orders the same thing. Tasha frowned. I was on register all night, Daniel. No one came in. I thought maybe she was messing with me, until it kept happening. Every night that week, around the same time, the woman appeared. She'd point, wait, watch me build the sandwich with eerie patience. Her movements were too precise, too careful, like she was following some invisible rule book. Then, one night, after closing, I had this dream, if it was even a dream. I was standing behind the counter, assembling sandwiches over and over again, the same sandwich. My hands moved automatically while that pale woman stood across from me, smiling faintly. I woke up in a cold sweat with the smell of mayo and barbecue sauce thick on my hands. When I got to work that night, Chris pulled me aside. "Daniel," he said, "were you in here after hours last night?" I blinked. "No. Why?" He frowned and pointed to the monitor in the office. The security footage showed me, alone, behind the counter at 2 a.m., building sandwiches, over and over, wrapping them, stacking them neatly in the walk-in cooler. Except I had no memory of ever being there.
When I saw that footage, my stomach sank. There I was, same uniform, same posture, same calm expression, making sandwiches like I'd done 1,000 times. Only difference was, I wasn't there. "Maybe the timestamp's wrong," I told Chris, forcing a laugh. "You know how these cameras glitch sometimes?" He shrugged, unconvinced. Maybe. Still, man, lock up properly. Don't make me start sleeping here to keep an eye on you." That night, I'd tried to shake it off, but something had changed. I felt detached, like I was watching myself from a few steps behind my own eyes. Every routine task, scooping chicken, spreading mayo, wrapping sandwiches, felt mechanical, like muscle memory running on autopilot. Tasha noticed it too. "You good, Dan? You've been zoning out a lot lately." I smiled too quickly. "Just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was wired. Every time I blinked, I saw flashes, my hands moving fast under the harsh kitchen light, the rhythmic sound of the wrapping paper, the hum of the cooler door sealing shut. I started writing things down in a small notebook. Times, details, sensations. I needed to convince myself this was just stress, not madness. Maybe I'd been sleepwalking. Maybe the footage was a recording from another night. But the more I wrote, the less sense it made. I began to notice patterns. Every dream happened after nights when I was alone on closing shift. And every time, I'd wake up around 2:30 a.m., hands sticky with grease or sauce. I'd wash them, go back to bed, pretend nothing happened. Then, one evening, Tasha told me something that hit me like a punch. "You ever notice the cooler door has been opening on its own lately?" she said. I froze. "What do you mean?" She shrugged. "Nothing major. Just sometimes I hear it click open when no one's near it. I'll go check and it shut again. Probably air pressure or something." Probably. Still, I checked the cooler after closing. The smell hit me first. Cold, damp, heavy. Not rotten, just wrong. I looked around. Perfectly clean shelves. No sandwiches, no wrappers, nothing. But when I turned to leave, I noticed indentations on the stainless steel prep counter, like fingertips pressed hard into the metal. My fingertips. I laughed nervously, wiped them with a towel, and told myself I was losing it. I didn't tell anyone about the night I woke up in my car, parked right behind the KFC, with the store keys still in my hand and the clock flashing 2:04 a.m. I didn't tell anyone about the dreams that kept replaying, the same order, the same silence, the same careful movements, because deep down, I was starting to understand something. Maybe there was no woman. Maybe there never had been. Maybe the part of me that made those sandwiches, the calm, precise, obedient part, wasn't asleep at all. It was awake, and it was learning to work without me.
The night I found myself parked outside the KFC again, I knew it was over. I didn't even remember driving there. The store lights were off, the parking lot empty, but my hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. My uniform was on the passenger seat. I hadn't worn it in 3 days. That morning, I walked into Chris's office, dropped my name tag on the desk, and said I was done. No notice, no excuses. He looked surprised, but didn't argue. Maybe he'd seen the exhaustion on my face, the kind that doesn't come from work, but from being haunted by yourself. I told everyone I just needed a break. But it wasn't a break. It was escape. I left town within a week. I found a new apartment 2 cities away, small and quiet. No strip malls, no late-night shifts, no smell of grease. Still, the silence wasn't peace. It was too quiet. At night, I'd lie awake waiting for the faint hum of the cooler or the soft crinkle of sandwich paper. My hands twitched in my sleep, as if still assembling something. Once, I woke up to find I'd rearranged the items in my kitchen cabinets, spices lined up perfectly, chicken packets in neat rows. It was just like the cooler. I tried to convince myself it was just routine burned into my brain, the way soldiers keep checking doors long after they've left the field. But deep down, I wasn't sure. Sometimes I thought about the woman, the silent one. The one no one else saw. Maybe she wasn't a ghost. Maybe she was an echo, a shape my mind created to justify what I was doing when my body moved without permission. Maybe she was me. Months passed. Life didn't get better. I avoided every KFC I saw, even crossing the street if I caught sight of that red and white logo. Once, during a road trip, my friend pulled into a KFC drive-thru for a snack. My pulse spiked so fast I nearly screamed. I told him I wasn't hungry, stepped out of the car, and waited on the curb till he finished. He didn't understand, and I couldn't explain. The worst part? Sometimes I miss it. The rhythm, the repetition, the quiet order of it all. That place had consumed me, but it had also given me a strange sense of control. A place where every step, every motion made sense. Now everything feels chaotic without it. The notebook I kept back then, where I tracked the nights, the times, the dreams, it's still with me. I can't throw it away. Every now and then, I flip through it, half expecting to see a new entry written in my handwriting. And sometimes there is. Always the same note, dated at 2 a.m. Sandwiches prepped, cooler restocked. I haven't worked there in over a year. But some nights, I still wake up smelling fried chicken. And I never step inside.
When I got hired, I was 2 months behind on rent, my car had died in the middle of the freeway, and my phone was one payment away from being cut off. I'd been sleeping with one eye open, praying my landlord wouldn't change the lock while I was out looking for work. The KFC job wasn't a dream, it was survival. I'm Daniel, 23, and if I'm being honest, I've never had much luck. My dad walked out when I was a kid, my mom got sick when I was in high school, and since then, it's been one job after another just to keep the lights on. When I saw that red and white KFC sign flickering across the street, I thought maybe things were finally turning around. The manager, Mr. Clay, was an older man with deep wrinkles and a permanent grease stain on his shirt. He barely asked questions before hiring me, said, "We always need hands in the kitchen." That should have been my first warning. Places that desperate for workers are rarely normal. The first week felt fine though, busy, greasy, loud, like any fast food joint, but one thing stood out: the buffet. It was an all-you-can-eat setup, open from noon to evening, and it never ran out. No matter how many customers came through, there was always food, perfectly hot, perfectly arranged, always fresh. My job was to prep chicken and refill trays, but it didn't take long to notice something strange. We weren't making enough to feed half the crowd, yet somehow the buffet always looked full. I thought maybe there was a second prep room or a secret delivery system. One night after closing, I asked Mr. Clay how it worked. He didn't look up from his paperwork. "It takes care of itself," he said. "What do you mean, it takes care of itself?" I asked, laughing nervously. He gave me this look, flat, tired, and old, like someone who'd given up explaining things years ago. "Don't mess with the buffet, Daniel. Just keep cooking what you can." That answer didn't sit right with me. The next few days I started watching closely. The same trays kept reappearing, the same perfectly fried pieces of chicken that no one ever saw being made. When customers left, new food appeared, just enough to look fresh again. Sunday was the slowest day, just me and Mr. Clay. Around noon, I noticed the buffet line emptying, so I went to refill it. When I walked out, the trays were filling themselves. Piece by piece, drumsticks, wings, biscuits, all materializing from nothing. Steam rose from them as if pulled from an invisible fryer. That's when I realized, whatever was cooking here was...
After that Sunday, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the buffet refilling itself. Chicken appearing out of thin air, steam rising from invisible hands. I told myself I imagined it, that maybe I was overworked. But deep down, I knew what I saw. The next morning, I tried to tell Mr. Clay. He didn't even look at me. "Daniel," he said quietly, "you need this job, right?" I nodded. "Then stop asking questions." I wanted to quit that instant, but quitting meant going back to sleeping in my car, skipping meals, pretending my mom's medical bills didn't exist. I couldn't afford to walk away. So I stayed. The next few nights were normal, or at least they looked normal. I'd cook, mop, clean, refill, and keep my head down, but I couldn't stop noticing the buffet trays. Sometimes I'd swear they were breathing, like the food itself was alive, slowly rising and falling when no one was near. One night after closing, I decided to record it. I set my phone behind the counter, camera facing the buffet, and let it run while I cleaned a back room. When I came back 15 minutes later, my phone screen was cracked. The video file was corrupted. I opened it anyway, and there was just one frame, 1 second of footage that froze my blood. A woman's face, pale, half burnt, her eyes hollow like empty sockets. She was standing behind the buffet. I ran outside that night shaking, heart hammering in my chest. I called the police and told them someone might have broken in. 2 officers came by, checked everything, and found nothing. No fingerprints, no forced entry, no sign of a woman. When I tried to show them the video, it was gone, just static. They looked at me like I was losing my mind. One of them even said, "You sure you're not just tired, kid?" After that, I didn't bother trying to explain it again. No one believed me. My friends said I was stressed. My mom said I needed rest. Mr. Clay told me if I kept causing trouble, he'd fire me. But how could I rest when the smell of fried chicken started following me home? I'd shower, change clothes, and still catch that same greasy scent clinging to my skin. At night, I'd hear the faint sound of oil sizzling, like someone was frying food in the next room, even when I was alone. One night, after a double shift, I came home and found a KFC biscuit on my kitchen counter, perfectly golden, warm. I hadn't brought it there. That was when I realized I wasn't just seeing things. Whatever was cooking at that KFC had started following me.
I went back the next morning, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Rent was due in 4 days. My mom's next hospital payment was due in 2. Fear doesn't matter when you're broke. You just keep clocking in and praying you make it through another shift. When I walked in, the restaurant was empty. No customers, no chatter. Just the hum of the fryer and the faint crackle of something cooking. Mr. Clay wasn't around.
The air smelled thick, grease, metal, and something old, like burnt sugar and decay. I moved toward the buffet line, every step heavier than the last. The glass covers were fogged up, and behind them the trays were already full. Chicken, biscuits, mashed potatoes, everything looked perfect. Too perfect. The skin on the chicken was still bubbling, as if someone had just pulled it from hot oil seconds ago. Then I saw movement, not in front of me, in the reflection of the buffet glass. A woman, standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing. My throat tightened. I turned back, and that's when I saw her through the glass reflection again. Her face was pale, blistered, like melted wax over bone. She was wearing a torn cook's uniform, stained yellow from years of grease. Her lips moved, mouthing words I couldn't hear. I stumbled back, knocking over a tray. The food hit the floor, but instead of splattering, it vanished. Gone. Like it was never there. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the kitchen, I heard the fryer hiss come alive. And then, her voice. "It's not perfect yet." My chest seized. The smell grew unbearable. I ran to the back office to find Mr. Clay, but he wasn't there. His office light was on, though, and on his desk sat a stack of yellowed papers, old building permits. My hands shook as I read them. This KFC had been built over a boarding house that burned down in 1950. 13 people died during Sunday dinner. The cook, her name was Martha Elson. The report said she poisoned her guests in pursuit of the perfect meal. When the fire started, she stayed inside the kitchen until it collapsed. I dropped the papers. The fryer roared to life again, the scent of fresh chicken flooding the air. Then faintly, I heard footsteps behind me, bare feet slapping against the greasy tile. I turned slowly. She stood there, only a few feet away, smoke rising from her hands. Her mouth stretched into something that looked like a smile. "Try again, Daniel. Help me get it right this time." The heat in the room surged, my vision blurred. The next thing I remember is waking up outside, covered in sweat and oil. The restaurant doors were locked, the windows were black. They say KFC shut down that location for renovations, but every time I drive past, I swear I can still smell chicken frying. I never went back. I still see her face sometimes, in reflections, in steam, in dreams. And no matter how far I run, that smell always finds me.